What was your most memorable experience serving as president?
The war in Ukraine started during my time as president, and I saw firsthand how politics and geopolitical issues pose challenges for organizations like the ASDS. In this case, Amy Derrick and a few other members organized donation of supplies, medications for humanitarian flights to the region. The ASDS made members aware of the effort being led by Amy, and it was very rewarding to provide opportunity for members to engage if they desired without putting ASDS itself in the middle.
What were the issues facing the society at the time?
When I began my tenure as president, I saw an extremely well-run and efficient organization. We have an incredible executive director in Kathy Duerdoff with over 20 years of institutional knowledge. My biggest worry at the time was making sure we would always be able to function at the same level. We didn't have a transition plan, and I felt it was important we be able to prepare in case something happened to Kathy, and prepared when she eventually decided to retire. Kathy put a plan in place, which is unfortunately being implemented now following her decision to retire in December. Non-physician practice of medicine, reimbursement, and other advocacy issues continue to be challenges for our members. But for me, continuity of effective leadership is the key to strength of this organization.
What were the most significant innovations in dermatology at the time?
The biggest aesthetic buzz in 2021-2022 was the impending approval of Daxxify. The FDA approval was based on a median duration of 24 weeks in clinical trials with more than 3,000 patients. This got all the other neurotoxin companies vying to complete their high-dose studies to try and compete with the increased duration. In the world of medical dermatology, the introduction of numerous biologics to treat diseases like psoriasis, eczema, and new therapies for melanoma are groundbreaking.
Who was your most memorable patient and why?
I met a young elementary school teacher who had been sideswiped by a drunk driver. She went through the windshield and sustained numerous lacerations across much of her face, broken bones, and lacerations across her chest and arms, which required surgical interventions. She came to me with red hypertrophic scars, and I worked with her for 6 months using pulse dye laser and Fraxel with astonishing improvement. This changed her life. She went from being self-conscious and reserved and uncomfortable in the classroom due to her deformities to being engaged in life again.
In looking back at your career, is there anything that you would change or do differently?
My decision to concentrate on aesthetics, get involved in research, teach the residents at Duke and UNC, and commit time and energy to the ASDS were instrumental in my success. I have no regrets about any of that and tell my residents that all the time. Looking back, I realized I could have invested more resources in support staff earlier in my career and been more thoughtful about adding other providers to the practice. It's all worked out, but perhaps more luck than planning, or maybe just wisdom with age.
What advice would you give today's young dermatologic surgeons?
Organize your practice to do the things that you love to do, even if that means you don't take a paycheck and only see a few patients a day while building your practice. It's what I had to do, and if you're trying to build a cosmetic practice, it is important that you set aside time for those patients and don't cram your schedule with general derm. Also, establish a network of friends that you can go to if you have questions or problems. This will be your collective brain trust, and it will serve you well throughout your career. Establish social connections with this group and make time for personal connections. These are the people that will bring you up by your bootstraps and celebrate your personal and work accomplishments. They will go through the same things you are throughout your career: building a practice, raising kids, marriages, divorces, and eventually an exit strategy.
What are your predictions for the future of the specialty?
I am hopeful that dermatologists will continue to be at the forefront of innovation with new drug and device development, and given our history, I'm confident we'll do that and meet the challenges we face. I continue to worry about our specialty getting eclipsed by mid-levels and other physicians dabbling in our space. But I think we'll eventually find a way to incorporate mid-levels in constructive care relationships for patients. I'm concerned about insurance reimbursement for our medical dermatologists and MOS members, and the difficulty universities are having hiring and keeping dermatologists to train the next generation. In both cases, ASDS has an important role in advocating for the specialty and will be an even more important training resource. I think we'll continue to see consolidation of solo provider practices and continue proliferation of private equity.
What advice do you have for ASDS leadership in serving its membership in the future?
It's imperative that ASDS represent all of its members, so we have to prioritize constructive feedback from the entire membership. Not everyone wants to devote time and energy to leadership roles in the organization, so it's easy for policy to begin reflecting a small number of engaged members. Everyone needs a voice. At the same time, leadership requires thinking ahead and making decisions that are best for the entire organization. Some people will be unhappy. Taking time to set strategic goals, developing a plan, and then executing that plan during the difficult times determines whether the ASDS remains relevant and strong in the future.